Hello and thank you for joining us. I'm Philip Duncan with the outlook for the weekend next week, and we're also tracking Cyclone Oma and potentially another tropical cyclone developing next week north of us, well north of us. So let's take a look and see what's going on. This is the air pressure map and wind. So the areas you see in the dark purpley blue colouring, that is low pressure, and the yellow and whiter colouring, high pressure. So very clearly you can see Cyclone Oma. Now I just want to start with that because Cyclone Oma is not coming towards New Zealand. The closest it is getting seems to be right now, and it is slightly influencing some low pressure just off the North Island. That's why we're getting extra cloud and humidity. But that humidity and cloud and subtropical air is also coming in from this big high out to our east. So it's a little bit complicated, it's a bit of both, but really this system is not coming in towards us. So I just wanted to start with that because I have seen quite a few people saying, I guess this cloud is the storm arriving. There is no storm arriving, but we do have a new area of low pressure that's going to form coming out of the Southern Ocean and up over New Zealand this weekend. And so Sunday looks like it's going to be a bit windy and wet and cold. But not everyone has a storm or stormy weather, so let me just try and cut through it all. This is the current prediction from the Joint Typhoon Warning Centre on where Oma is going. And it's not very often you get a long-range map that's almost a complete circle, or in this case an oval shape, with the storm going nowhere. It is likely to sit up here off the coast of Queensland, that's Brisbane just there, so well out to sea, and it is likely to be there maybe even Friday next week still. It may not be a cyclone, but the low is still going to be there, so it is stuck in place. Now here's another interesting map. This is the rainfall for the next 7 days compared to normal. So if it's white, that means you have normal rainfall. If it's red, drier than usual, blue, wetter than usual. So not hard to see where Cyclone Oma is stuck for the next week with all that rain falling out at sea, but most of Australia drier than average, and so is a lot of New Zealand. I mean, we've got some rain, that's that area of low pressure, some rain, most of it's offshore. Some areas of wet weather coming in this weekend, those are the places most likely to be a little wetter than usual, but it's not exactly a solid wet weekend for everybody. And I mention it like that because there are a lot of farmers and growers and those who rely on rainwater who are getting quite desperate now about rain. And so 5-10 millimeters, that's just not enough. You need a decent soaking amount. So let's go and see what is happening. We'll start off with lunchtime Saturday, and we've got the front moving through. So there will be some morning rain, and then it starts to clear away. Pale blue means showers. So it is improving as you wake up on Saturday in the upper North Island, but it might be a little bit wet to start with. Further south, we've got some showers. They're probably going to intensify, turning to sort of patchy rain later on in the day. Elsewhere, fairly dry, and Omar way up there to the north. This is now the same day, still Saturday evening, and again, mostly dry now in the north, which is great news because there are a lot of events on in the Auckland area. That is moving away. You can see though the rain now starting to really line up along the eastern side. Low pressure is starting to form, and that is what is deepening as we go into Sunday. So this is lunchtime Sunday. So that low that was deepening quickly moving away from us. It's a bit of a storm, but it's well away from us. So why have we got sort of severe weather warnings or potential? That's because this storm is deepening, this high is intensifying, and that creates for very strong southerly winds around New Zealand. They could be gale force through Cook Strait and some of the mountains and usual wind tunnels. On top of that, it is colder, much colder. There'll be snow on the mountains, maybe 20-30 centimetres up on the mountains. It'll be much cooler in the main centres on Sunday with highs between just 10 degrees and 14 degrees down in the south. Further north, heavier rain, that is there, mostly around the central part of New Zealand. You won't get a lot of complaints from people in that area. They do want that rain. Timing maybe not be the best, but still Sundays are not usually the busiest of days. So hopefully that is a good setup. And then the further north you are, it is windy and showery, but not necessarily a solidly wet day. So that's the weekend. Now by Monday, Oma is still stuck there. Our low, it's gone off the screen, and our high is building. So those showers around the eastern side, they will gradually fade, but the eastern side of the North Island is going to be a bit cold and wet on Monday. To Tuesday, in comes the high. Things are starting to settle down around New Zealand. The nor'westers are coming back. The temperatures are back into the 20s for those who might be a bit cold on Sunday. Omar still stuck in the exact same place, and we've got a new system forming to our northeast of Fiji, and our last map is Wednesday showing what is another tropical cyclone potential. Don't worry just yet if you're planning on going to Fiji. It is not locked in. It might completely miss that area, but it is forming quite likely just east of that nation. So we will keep a very close eye on that next week. It does not pose a threat to New Zealand because of this big block of high pressure, but we'll be watching to see what happens as that air pressure starts to go further south. It leaves sort of this area a little more vulnerable north of it. So as that tracks along, things might get a little more interesting as we're going towards March. Obviously, March is the peak season for storms in the tropics, so we expect a little more life up there just yet. That is all from me. Enjoy the weekend. Sunday's the wet, windy day. It's going to be a bit colder for many places as well, but it does warm back up again next week. If you need rain, good luck. Have a great weekend.